Welcome to week 8. This week we're going to begin reading Alan Patton's Cry the Beloved Country. I've chosen this novel as an example of narrative because it blends beautiful description, an interesting story, captivating characters, and timeless themes. The author's voice is lovely and distinct, and in different sections the voice and point of view changes. You'll have a longer amount of reading for a couple weeks, but since it's in novel form, I trust it will go much more quickly than the prose passages and not feel too burdensome. During the second week that we read it, I'll ask you to write a rhetorical analysis essay of a passage from the story that I assign you. Then during the third and final week, I'll be giving you a short quiz or test of the book on just about 10 short answer questions to be sure that everyone takes the time to read and think about the story. This week you'll be doing a multiple choice practice test for the AP exam. Be sure you've read the section in your Cliffs book about the multiple choice section before you take it. I assigned this reading several weeks ago. And also note that you should guess on every question because the College Board is beginning this year to stop deducting points for incorrect answers. In order to give everyone credit for their work on this test and to inspire you to do your best, I'm going to give you a scaled grade for it of somewhere between 80 and 100 based on how well you do. So the lowest score in the class will get an 80, and the highest score will get a 100, and the others will fall somewhere in between. Since this is your first attempt, I want to make sure that I don't give anyone too harsh of a grade on something that you're not really able to prepare for that much. Please be honest and take the test in the time limits. Don't read the passages ahead of time, and don't change your answers after you grade your test. I'll change the weight and the grading of these later in the year, but this seems like a good place to start for your first attempt. After you take your test and grade yourself on it, also be sure to go back and review the correct answers and try to understand why you answered any questions wrong that you did. This is how you'll be able to improve for future tests. This week you'll also be reading an essay of Virginia Woolf's called Portrait of a Londoner, which is about an English woman. I've chosen this one this week because I'd like you to consider how the author fashions his characters through rhetoric. You'll be considering both the woman in this essay and the character of Stephen Caballo in Cry the Beloved Country for your discussion board post this week. Next week, I'm going to ask you to come up with an idea for your major writing assignment this trimester, which is the narrative project. You're going to write a fictional story that's a retelling of another story. I want you to start thinking of a concept now, so I'm going to give you details for the project so that you can begin to plan ahead. This project is a major project, and it's going to count towards 30% of your overall grade. So, this project specifically will be worth 10% of your year's grade. There'll be one other project each trimester that will be worth another 10%. You're going to choose a story to retell, as Chaucer did with each of the Canterbury Tales. You can choose any kind of story. It can be a fairy tale, a movie, a classic novel, a ghost story, a Greek myth, anything. I'd like you to write a 6 to 10 page retelling of the story using the regular formatting guidelines prescribed in the How This Class Works form. And then I'd like you to retell the story with a definite purpose in mind. Examples of what this purpose might be include: you could make a serious story into a humorous one, you could change characters, add a new plot twist, or add a political, moral, or thematic message to the tale. As you write the story, I want you to consciously use 10 different narrative and/or rhetorical devices, like many of those that we studied on that long list of terms. I'd like you to make a footnote for each of these devices, and in the footnote list what the device is and provide a commentary on what its purpose is in your story. To insert a footnote using Microsoft Word, you can use the Insert menu and then choose Reference and then Footnote. It's very easy to add it from there. Then I want you to revise the narrative carefully for grammar, creativity, formatting, etc. I'll provide you an actual grading rubric for this assignment in the next couple weeks so that you can see what things I'm specifically looking for. And then, as a culmination of this project, I'm going to ask you to present your narrative to someone you know. This could be your family, or they'd be a fine audience unless you want to take it further than that. And then I'm going to have you finish your presentation by explaining to them each of your footnotes. Then ask them for feedback on the poignancy of your retelling and your use of rhetoric. I'll ask you to post on the discussion board and describe your story's effectiveness and your audience's response to your use of rhetorical devices. So next week I'm going to ask you to submit a 1-paragraph description of what you plan to write. Give me an idea of the story you plan to retell and how you plan to go about doing so. The following week, you'll have a 2/3 draft of it due, and you'll exchange that with a partner for peer review. Then the following week, your final story and the post about your delivery of it to an audience will be due as well. So this is a fun project as well as an important one, and it will be a chance for you to display all that you've learned about rhetoric and its powers for description and narration. I'll post many, if not all of these on the website for you to enjoy and to read one another's when they're completed.